Was never like any rivalry between you and Mr. Jackson?
Oh, not to me, no.
You turning down Bad.
Wesley Snipes' character,
Right.
that would have been me. To put it better, the first line of that song is "Your butt is mine." I said, who's gonna sing that to whom? Cause you sure ain't singing it to me. And I sure ain't singing it to you.
In the world of music, rivalries are nothing new. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones, Tupac and Biggie, Madonna and Lady Gaga, but none compare to the rivalry between two men who didn't just dominate the charts. They defined an era: Michael Jackson, the king of pop, and Prince, the purple one. Two geniuses, two icons, two cultural revolutions wrapped in human form. Yet behind the platinum records, the screaming fans, and the sold-out arenas, there was tension, ego, and a rivalry that the world still talks about today. For decades, the media insisted that Michael and Prince hated each other. They were painted as enemies, as if only one could wear the crown. But the truth is far more complicated. They didn't truly hate one another. They didn't even fully understand one another. What they shared was something stranger, deeper, and ultimately more important than hate. A rivalry that drove them, haunted them, and in many ways made them legends. Michael Jackson and Prince were born just 2 months apart in 1958. But from the very beginning, their paths were drastically different. Michael grew up in Gary, Indiana, in a small home crammed with 9 children and ruled by a father whose iron fist left scars that never healed. Joe Jackson's discipline was relentless, shaping Michael into a child prodigy who spent his life rehearsing, performing, and perfecting. By the age of 5, Michael was already singing with the Jackson 5, and by 10, he was one of the most famous kids in America. Fame was not something Michael discovered. It was forced upon him. His entire existence became a performance, carefully choreographed, meticulously rehearsed, with little room for mistakes, flaws, or even a real childhood. Prince Rogers Nelson, meanwhile, was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His childhood, too, was marked by turmoil. His parents divorced, and he often bounced between homes. But unlike Michael, Prince wasn't molded by industry executives or stage parents. He carved his own identity. By 18, he was already demanding full creative control over his work, refusing to let record labels dictate his sound. He played nearly every instrument himself, wrote his own lyrics, and designed his own image. He wasn't looking for approval, he was demanding freedom. This contrast defined their entire careers. Michael, molded to be loved by everyone, sought universal acceptance. Prince, rebellious and fiercely independent, thrived on provocation. From the very start, they were destined to clash because they represented two opposite philosophies of stardom. The rivalry exploded in the 1980s. In 1982, Michael Jackson released Thriller, an album that didn't just break records, but rewrote the music industry entirely. It became the best-selling album of all time, with tracks like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller. Michael's music videos set new standards for MTV, and his moonwalk became a global phenomenon. He wasn't just famous, he was untouchable, the most recognized man on the planet. Just 2 years later, in 1984, Prince unleashed Purple Rain. It wasn't just an album, but a film, a cultural event. With songs like When Doves Cry and Purple Rain, Prince emerged as the most daring and electrifying artist in America. His fashion choices, lace gloves, high heels, androgynous looks, clashed directly with Michael's polished suits and carefully controlled image. The media couldn't resist the comparison. Michael was pop's clean perfectionist, Prince was pop's flamboyant rebel. From that moment, the world framed them as rivals. That rivalry deepened in 1985 during the recording of We Are the World, the charity single co-written by Michael and Lionel Richie to raise money for famine relief. Practically every major artist of the time was there. Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, Bruce Springsteen, but Prince was missing. He had been invited, he had been begged, yet he refused. Some said it was because he didn't want to stand in a room full of egos. Others believed it was because he didn't want to share the spotlight with Michael. Whatever the truth, his absence was glaring. For Michael, who believed in the project, Prince's refusal stung. For the press, it was confirmation. The rivalry was real, and Prince was making a statement. 2 years later, the rivalry reached another breaking point. Michael was working on his follow-up to Thriller, the album that would become Bad. He had a bold idea, a duet with Prince on the title track. On paper, it was genius. The two biggest stars in the world finally united on one record. It could have been the most iconic collaboration in pop history, but Prince wanted nothing to do with it. When he received the demo, he was instantly turned off, especially by the opening lyric, "Your butt is mine." Prince reportedly scoffed and asked, "Who's gonna sing that to who? Because you sure ain't singing that to me." He refused outright. For Michael, it was humiliating. He had offered an olive branch, a way to turn rivalry into unity, and Prince had slapped it away. For Prince, it was about pride. He refused to be second to Michael in any way. That rejection killed the duet and confirmed to the world that they weren't just competitors, they were opponents. The stories that followed only made the rivalry more infamous. One of the most legendary tales is the ping-pong match. At some point in the 80s, Michael and Prince ended up playing table tennis. Michael was never athletic, never competitive in that sense. Prince, however, treated the game like it was Madison Square Garden. He smashed serves, taunted Michael, and dominated the game completely. When it ended, Michael walked away embarrassed, while Prince gloated. It was just ping-pong, but it became a metaphor for their dynamic. Michael, the vulnerable perfectionist, and Prince, the cocky provocateur who loved to get under his rival's skin. Then came the James Brown concert. Both Michael and Prince were invited on stage. Michael did his signature spin, his moonwalk, and the crowd erupted. Then Prince jumped up, ripped off his shirt, humped the speaker, and tried to upstage him. The crowd roared even louder. The media spun it as another battle of the titans. Michael versus Prince, perfection versus chaos. For fans, it was thrilling. For the men themselves, it was exhausting. Award shows became battlegrounds too. In 1984, Michael dominated the American Music Awards, winning 8 trophies for Thriller. Prince, riding the high of Purple Rain, sat in the audience as cameras cut to him repeatedly, searching for a reaction. At the Grammys, the same dynamic played out. Michael was crowned the king of pop, but critics often hailed Prince as his equal or his opposite. Every win, every loss, every chart placement became another score in their ongoing duel. For both men, it was relentless. They weren't just competing for success, they were competing against each other's shadows. At the heart of this rivalry was their music, and how completely different it was. Michael was precision. Every note, every dance step, every detail was rehearsed and perfected until it gleamed. His songs were designed for universality, to resonate with billions. Prince was the opposite. He thrived on chaos and spontaneity. He blurred lines between funk, rock, pop, and soul. He was provocative, shocking, and unapologetically raw. Where Michael sought approval, Prince demanded freedom. They weren't just rivals, they were foils, reflections of each other's opposite impulses, and that's why the comparisons never stopped. Yet, beneath all the noise, there was respect. Michael admitted in private conversations that Prince was a genius. He admired his independence and his musical bravery. Prince, meanwhile, respected Michael's ability to connect with billions of people, something no one else could do. He once admitted that while he could electrify an audience, Michael's power over the global stage was godlike. They recognized each other's greatness, but they could never admit it publicly. To do so would have been seen as surrender, so the respect stayed hidden, while the rivalry raged on in public. As the years went on, their rivalry began to soften, though it never completely disappeared. Michael retreated into reclusion, battling lawsuits, controversies, and personal struggles. Prince reinvented himself constantly, fighting his own wars with record labels, changing his name, and experimenting with new sounds. In the 1990s, Prince occasionally shaded Michael in interviews, mocking his scandals or criticizing his choices. Michael, true to form, rarely fired back. Yet when Michael died in 2009, Prince's reaction was telling. He didn't gush or cry publicly, but he acknowledged Michael's brilliance in his own way. For a man who rarely praised his peers, that simple acknowledgement spoke volumes. Looking back, their rivalry wasn't about hate. It was about two men who were too different, too proud, and too pressured to coexist. Michael was the perfectionist who sought to unite the world. Prince was the rebel who refused to bow to anyone. Together, they forced the music world to rethink what pop could be. Their rivalry pushed them both higher. Michael pushed harder because Prince was there. Prince became bolder because he wanted to outshine Michael. Without each other, would they have gone as far? Perhaps not. And so the question remains, did Michael Jackson and Prince truly hate each other? The answer is no. What they shared was far more complicated. Ego, competition, pride, and beneath it all, recognition. Michael was the king of pop, the polished superstar who united billions. Prince was the purple one, the provocateur who lived only for his own rules. Together they didn't just feud, they defined an era. They didn't need to like each other. They didn't need to collaborate. By standing on opposite sides of pop's battlefield, they made each other immortal.
Never like any rivalry between you and Mr. Jackson?
Oh, not to me, no.
You turning down Bad.
Wesley Snipes' character,
Right.
that would have been me. To put it better, the first line of that song is "Your butt is mine." I said, who's gonna sing that to whom? Cause you sure ain't singing it to me. And I sure ain't singing it to you.